Hello, and thank you for tuning in to this Engerati Studio interview at Asian Utility Week 2016. I'm Denise, and joining me today is Kay Houghton, and from the International Development and, well, you are the International Development and Regulation Director at Kelvin Capital Limited. Thank you so much for joining us.
No problem.
So in this particular session, we're going to be discussing funding for metering programs. So this is basically what Kelvin Capital does. It provides funding for major metering programs. What is your company's interest in Asia?
Well, at the moment we're the major funder of smart metering in the UK, and we're looking for different avenues to come out. So we're looking for where there's competitive metering, potentially deregulation, and where companies need to, or maybe countries need to, utilise the money for other purposes, so they want to use the money from us for metering, because obviously there's lots of different projects like nuclear, solar and all those sorts of things, and metering is seen as a lower priority, but it's an area where we can utilise our funding, and it also works in the competitive market as well when the areas are deregulated. So we see like Asia and Australasia as two key areas that are opening up for that. For instance, Japan and New South Wales.
Oh, right. The funding, exactly what does it cover?
It can cover whatever you want it to cover, but in general it covers the actual physical asset, and it covers the installation of the asset, and it can also cover various different IT system charges if you want to, and it's rolled up into an amortised cost that's recovered over a period of years depending on the time. But it can cover, you know, a multitude of things, and it's not just funding. We can do the reverse logistics and the management of those assets as well, which is what we do quite, you know, a lot in the UK.
Okay. From your company's perspective, what challenges do you think the utilities in Asia face when it comes to smart metering and the rollout process?
I think the difference in Asia is it's more, in the UK and Australia it's retailer-led, whereas in the Asia it's more the network-led, and it's whether that is going to work in a competitive market, and you've got to look at it, because you can either do it from a customer's perspective or you can do it from a network perspective, and the two don't necessarily drive the same behaviours, which you've seen that in Victoria in Australia, where they rolled out with a network rollout and it was considered to be a bit of a disaster, and now they've gone with a customer rollout. But I think in Asia they're more focused on the actual physical network of the assets. So I think maybe those conflicts might, you know, drive different behaviours.
Okay, and how can your company perhaps help Asia over you know, the hurdles that may exist?
I think what we do is just present a different model. It's something different to consider, using a third party. What happened in the UK, they took the metering off the regulated asset base. There's no reason that can't happen anywhere else. And, you know, as in Japan, if they want to have a competitive retail environment, then that, you know, the retailer that installs the meter doesn't want to be bearing the whole cost of that, because the consumer can churn the next day. So this facilitates that, so it takes away that capital cost, and it takes it off the balance sheet as well.
All right, okay. Market conditions. What market conditions are required to encourage commercial funding?
Commercial funding, we really need a deregulated, or the beginning of a deregulated market, or a utility that's looking to utilise their own balance sheet funds for something like a nuclear power station or something, you know, different. Where we come in is, you know, in that area at the bottom, and it's something that's not really considered. Is it a network, is it a customer asset? And it can be either. So that's where we can, you know, come in.
Okay. Kelvin Capital has enjoyed quite a lot of success in the UK. What sets you apart from the competition?
I think we've been doing it the longest, so we've been in operation since 2002. So we were the very first commercial meter asset provider in the UK. We've got a lot of experience in providing the assets and providing the funding. We've got lots of a big pool of banks from all over the world. So we've got European banks, Asian banks. We've recently just had European Investment Bank have invested in a huge amount of money in one of our projects, and they've also just given us another funding thing. We've got loads of contacts with Asian banks, so we use Japanese banks everywhere. I think the other thing that sets us apart is we're not just a funder. We do a lot of the operational work, so we can take that away from the retailer. so he doesn't have to be bothered about recovering rental on churn and that kind of thing. So we do offer a more hands-on approach, flexible approach.
Right. That leads me to my next question. Is the company only interested in metering, or are there other sectors where you can provide funding for?
We are looking to branch out. So internationally, we're focusing on metering because it's our core business. But that's not to say in the future we won't look at other areas. In the UK, we're now branching out into storage, electric vehicle charging, solar, in those areas. So we are branching out on those, and those can be transferred internationally to Europe, Asia, Australasia, wherever you want to. It's just a matter of sort of building the business first up in Asia and Australia with the concept of the model, and then applying that to other assets.
Right. What are the most exciting trends that you see in Asia at the moment? I know there's quite a lot going on, and it's a huge region.
Yeah.
But what does Kelvin Capital view as super exciting over the next, say, five years?
I think
in this region particularly.
Super exciting in metering is hard, but I think the exciting thing is that they are actually deregulating.
Yeah.
They are opening up to retail competition. It's not going to just be state-owned DNOs, it's going to be like retail competition, which drives competitive funding, and probably might lower the cost as well, in terms of driving forward the rollout of the smart meters, because they're not having to self-fund. So that's what we see our raise on.
Absolutely, yeah. My final question to you. What would be your or your company's advice to the energy sector here?
I think the energy sector is keep an open mind. It doesn't have to be done in the way it's always been done.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a regulated activity. There's loads of parts that can be taken away and funded in a different way. And the models of operation can be different. It doesn't have to be one type of funding. But I think it's to keep an open mind, really, more than anything.
Super. Kay, thank you so much
No
for
problem.
your time. Thanks for joining us in the studio today. And to our viewers, thank you very much for joining in on the session. If you're wanting more insight into Asia Utility Week, please look at our website for playlists, and that's on njrati.com. Thank you.